Hi, my name is Liz Inslee, and today I am going to tell you the story of CinderEdna. This is a fractured fairy tale. There once was a girl named CinderEdna, and she lived next door to Cinderella. They both had an evil stepmother and evil stepsisters, but that is where the similarities end. Cinderella was dainty and pretty, and when she would get done with her chores, she would go and she would sit next to the cinders and ponder her woes, while CinderEdna whistled while she worked, had a positive attitude, learned to play the accordion, and learned to make 16 different types of tuna casserole. Well, one day, the girls hear, along with all the other eligible ladies, that the prince is having a ball. Well, that day, both of the evil stepmothers and stepsisters get all dolled up and they go to the ball, but they leave CinderEdna and Cinderella. Well, Cinderella just sits around and waits for her fairy godmother to come. And CinderEdna goes to the store and buys herself a dress. See, she had put herself to work mowing her neighbors' lawns and cleaning out bird cages for her neighbors and be able to earn a little bit of money. So she goes and she buys herself a dress. She comes home and she decides, I am going to wear my comfortable loafers. So she's ready to go. And she doesn't wait around for a fairy godmother. She goes and gets on the bus to go to the ball. Meanwhile, Cinderella waits for her fairy godmother. And so, when her fairy godmother gets there, her fairy godmother fixes her dress and gives her glass slippers to wear and gives her a coach to ride into the ball. And anyway, so she gets to the ball. They both get to the ball, and CinderEdna goes over to the food table to get something to eat, and the prince comes over and greets her and is trying to have a conversation with her, and CinderEdna's thinking, boy, this guy is boring. I don't know what people see in him. So she excuses herself and she leaves. Just as soon as she leaves, Cinderella comes up. And the prince is smitten with her. Oh, she's gorgeous. And Cinderella's like, oh, it's the prince. Oh, I'm in love, I'm in love. And they spend the whole night together. Well, CinderEdna ends up meeting Rupert. And Rupert is the prince's brother. And they realize that they have a lot in common. They love to work outside in their garden, and Rupert loves tuna casserole, so now CinderEdna has someone to make her tuna casseroles for. Well, the two couples spend the night inseparable. Well, midnight rolls around, and Cinderella's like, oh my goodness, I've got to hurry up and get home. My spell's going to break, and he's going to see me in my rags. And CinderEdna's like, oh, I have to leave at midnight too, because the buses will stop running, and I won't have any way to get back home. So they run, and both of them leaves one of their shoes. Well, the prince and his brother are so distraught. How are we going to find them? We are so in love with them that the prince decides, oh my goodness, here's her glass slipper. I am going to go to each house in the kingdom that has an eligible maiden and have her try on this slipper to see if I can find my dear, dear sweet girl. Well, Rupert thinks that is just nuts. And he says, well, I remember that her name is Edna, so I'm going to look in the phone book to see if I can find Edna. And I'm going to ask every single Edna how many different kinds of tuna casserole can they make. So they each do that, and Rupert finds his Edna finally, and goes to have her try on her loafer. And the prince goes and finds Cinderella, and they all live happily ever after. Well, at the end of the story, the reader learns that CinderEdna is a much happier person. She's on a more equal footing with her husband, and they do a lot of great things together, while Cinderella is bored out of her mind because all she does is sit next to the prince while he's talking to all of his followers and looks pretty. So, thank you for listening to my story.